Howdy, guys. Attorney Walter Hnot. Now, I've compiled a list of all the things you have to watch out for when disability law firms basically advertise. This video is not, I want to make it very clear, not about whether or not you should hire a disability attorney. For something that is so incredibly important for you not to hire one, I always think is a wrong choice. I am a disability attorney. As you've probably noticed, I don't really advertise the law firm on the channel. Like you can see the logo right there, but we get enough clients where I just never really mention or bring it up. But this video is going to be unique. It's going to be different in how I'm going to show you some of the advertising techniques that law firms use and why I don't really agree with them, why I don't think they're okay. So I'm going to show you the tricks that they use, and then you got to let me know. You've got to tell me if you think it's ethical or you think it's moral for them to be using it. So here's number one. Number one, if they are advertising that they are the best, this is a strict no-no in the legal industry. No one knows who the best is. And realistically, all disability attorneys are better at specific impairments or specific situations when, adjudicating a claim. It's a mega no-no to advertise in the legal industry as an attorney that you are the best. You should never do it, or to state that the firm is the best, because the bar of that state will usually require you to remove the word the best. And if you don't, you'll be essentially sanctioned and potentially disbarred if you don't actually get rid of it. So if they say, if some firm is saying they are the best and they're just incredible, they're just absolute best, I can almost absolutely assure you that they are committing a bar violation and they are not the best. So, usually when you're committing a bar violation for your legal bar, the thing that certifies you to be an attorney, if you're committing a bar violation, you definitely are not the best. Now, number two, if they advertise that you are 3 times more likely to win with them, this is total and complete manipulation. Let me explain why. Law firms are 3 times more likely to win a disability claimant's benefits than if a claimant applies alone. That's just a statistic that the SSA came out with. Bottom line is, you go with a law firm, you're 3 times more likely to be found disabled. Okay. And it makes sense. If you have somebody that's educated in the system, they're showing you what to do, they're showing you where to fill stuff out, you're just going to do better, right? You're just giving yourself a significant one up. Okay. So it's not that the law firm that's advertising, that specific law firm that's saying, hey, we are 3 times better than if you win it alone or didn't choose us. The reality is that there are law firms who make it where it's only 1 time more likely, 2 time more likely, 3 time more likely, 4 time more likely, 5 time more likely. So those who are 2 times more likely to get you found disabled than somebody who goes alone are not as good as those who are 4 times as likely to get you found disabled. So what's ironic about this numbers game is that if you think about it, 3 times more likely is an average. That means there are some law firms out there that do way more and get way better results. And there are law firms out there that do a total crap job, absolutely horrible. And they're just not spending much money or time per claimant. And those are your hardly any, increase of likelihood at all. And so you've got these two kind of existences. And in the middle of that is that somebody who hires a law firm will be 3 times more likely. So the bottom line is, if a law firm is arguing and advertising that you'd be 3 times more likely because that's the statistic that the SSA came out with, you don't actually know if that law firm is 3 times more likely. You don't. They could be a 2 times more likely or not more likely at all. So these are kind of the things that you want to look for when hiring a disability law firm. You don't have to hire mine. You can hire any. Bottom line is this. Number one, specifically look for firms that only do disability law or stuff in the disability field, like, LTD benefits and disability benefits and SSI benefits and, VA benefits and workers' comp, like things that are in the field of disability. That's usually a best avenue because they're always doing things that are related to each other. When you get maritime law and tax law, that's a big red flag. Number two, you want to see who spends more per client. And there's ways to figure that out, but that's too much for this video. So we'll do another video on that. Number three, do they do custom legal writings? Do they write briefs? At the end of the day, do they have a brief writer if they're massive and they have to just send a bunch of claims off to other people? Number four, do they have attorneys with proper training and experience? Those that have attorneys that are in the field that are high up, they're the owners, or they're the ones that are always in court sitting next to you, or they're the ones that are always writing the brief. Those are the ones that have a lot of the experience. And then there are other attorneys who basically spend a lot of time just kind of throwing it against the wall. Hopefully the judge will approve it, and that's that. So things that I want to point out with this is that when you look at these law firms, you want to look at, okay, um, is this something where they just have some area of law that's making enough money to then pay for the addition of these other, caveat side categories of law to be done? So a lot of PI firms will go ahead and basically add a disability, arm to their law firm because, a lot of their claimants, they get injured, then they become disabled, and it just, one equals the other, but they don't. They're two very, very separate and different fields. So you just have to be aware, like, is this a firm that they're into disability, they're doing it, or is it a firm where it's like they added this side category and they just, they hire on attorneys and you keep swapping out attorneys because nobody sticks around? Is it one of those gigs? Okay. Number three, if they advertise that they are the biggest or the largest or the ultimatist, it doesn't mean anything in disability land. Just because I am the most viewed and subscribed to disability attorney doesn't mean that I should be your disability attorney. I want to make that clear. Like, even though I have the most views and subscriptions and blah, blah, blah. And so that doesn't make me a better disability attorney. I think what helps is that I'm always producing topics and videos on, all these weird little caveats of law and what's going on with the news. That probably helps me be more aware of the surroundings and what's currently going on in the industry. Sure, but does that mean I'm going to be your best disability attorney? No, not at all. Not even close. It doesn't mean that. You could have some really weird impairment that I'm just like not really into, and that would not make a good connection. You could be one of those claimants that I just don't connect with. Sometimes you interact with a claimant, you're like, I'm not connecting with this person. This is not good. So there is that aspect of it. You have to be aware of it. Okay. Now, with that said, so when someone argues that they are huge or an upgrade in size or magically delicious, it's all just advertising BS. Now, when it comes to personal injury in that side, in that field, if it's a firm that's going to spend a lot of money on hiring experts for your claim, then that's a really good thing. But if they're a big box firm that's basically going ahead and just, it's called like it is, not hiring a lot of expert witnesses, not writing a lot of briefs, it's just one of those big box firms that's trying to get a quick settlement, then in that instance, it's a situation where, being giant, being huge is of no advantage to you. Okay. So like I've said in the other videos I've done, if I ever became sick, the attorneys I would actually trust to work on my clients' claims, to be fair, they don't even have 100 reviews online. They don't even have, most of them, 60 reviews. That's because they just get continuous, ongoing, repetitive referrals from people, and they don't even have an online presence. I went the other way because I realized how important the YouTube and the Google, the Google 5 stars and things like that was. But to be honest, now that I'm at the point where we have so many clients calling in, you could take all of those Google reviews and just, not get rid of them, hopefully, but just suppress them or whatever so that people can see them, and it still wouldn't matter. We'd still get significant, So the point is, if I got sick, it's not like I would be throwing the claimants to this attorney because they've got, this or that. The ones I trust the most, they have almost no online presence. So just be aware of that. Rose Ocampo, thank you for the $5 donation. I super duper appreciate that. That's amazing. That's super awesome. Thank you. Love the little lemon head there. That's so cool with the little laughing lemon head. That's awesome. Okay, so that's for pizza. Shadow gets the first piece. I will give Shadow a pepperoni and a little bit of pizza, but I can't give him a whole slice because he's only like 30 to 35 pounds. And, if he ate a whole slice, he would become a little pizza himself. He is so adorable, though. So, all right. With that said, the next one, there's another thing you need to know. When I ask for reviews, I know how important they are for Google. But here's the thing. When it comes to reviews, reviews are not equal. They're not equivalent. They're not one of these things where one review company is the same as another. They're not. When you basically have reviews from like Trustpilot or Trust Analytics or whatever, like some of these like offshoot whatever websites that are literally paid to try and help you get reviews. Like I would have to pay them for them to try and help me get reviews. Those reviews, I don't know what their process is for actually validating somebody who wants to leave a review, but I know these companies go from like 0 reviews to 5,000 reviews in a couple of years, and they'll have like literally 30 reviews on Google and half of them are terrible. So from my perspective, when they have to advertise that they have this like obnoxious amount of reviews. I have 15,000, I have 10,000, I have this or that. When they have to do that, and it's not a product that everybody's buying on Amazon, but it's like the firm, and the firm, doesn't really have many Google reviews, I get very, very, very cautious with that. I do tend to look at the Better Business reviews. That's where you're going to see people who are pissed off about a company. I do tend to look at basically reviews with Google. Google's like the golden standard because you have to usually be somebody to leave a review there. Now, people can still scam Google. They do it. They really do it. They create fake accounts, but there's a lot involved with it, so they probably don't have that many fake accounts. However, this like Trust Analytics, Trustpilot, stuff like that, I don't know what the process is, but boy, oh boy, they seem to get a hell of a lot of reviews on there that should have gone to Google. So just something to watch out for. Okay, now next thing is this. Another thing to watch is basically when the reviews get totally and completely insane. So sometimes you'll see reviews get to these extreme numbers of like 50,000, 100,000, stuff like that. And then when you go to search their actual law firm on Google, nothing shows up for any of the reviews. And that's because I've learned that there are ways that companies can go ahead and hide certain functions of their business online. So if you're ever like searching for something, and that's another thing too, and I think it's important with reviews, even on Google, even the gold standard. I haven't had a chance to really figure out how they do it, but they have companies like these big box firms have companies, and their only job is to consistently go in and remove 1 star, 2 star, 3 star reviews. That's their only job. And they go in and appeal things with Google, and they go and battle out with Google, and they try and get it removed, and this and that, and yada yada, and this whole thing. So if you go to a company and they've got like 50,000 5-star reviews, or even 10,000 5-star reviews, and none of them are negative, there's no negatives, or the negatives are like really detailed and really specific, so they couldn't get rid of it. That should be a red herring for you to understand that you need to go look at other websites and just see what the general population is saying out there. Now, remember, they're going to try and get to those other websites too. Another thing you have to worry about with this whole advertising and the review thing is that sometimes people will leave random reviews on different websites that have nothing to do with the company. So you got to be careful with that. Another thing is sometimes people are literally hired to leave reviews about other companies as like a spam bot attack, something that happens to everybody. All right. Now, if the law firm says that their passage rate for disability benefits is 99% with the SSA, it's a lie. It's total BS. So here's the thing. There's no perfect slam dunk situation for, essentially the SSA, which means that, and let me give you the closest thing you could potentially get to a law firm that would create almost 100% approval rating. Let's say you had a retired attorney or about to be a retired attorney, and they only took like a couple of claims, and the claims were super ultra easy. That is to win. That is the closest you could get to a slam dunk. Now, they're not going to take most of your claims because they're only going to take the absolute easiest ones to take. That's where you get the 99% thing. So when people ask me like, hey, what's your percent passage rate? That's really the wrong question. The real question is, does the law firm take claims that basically are not just the slam dunks, but the good ones, the medium good ones, the medium bad ones? Nobody's taking the bad ones. And that's why you're seeing with a lot of these firms, because the SSA is really tightened up on who they're willing to approve, where they won't take child claims, they won't take SSI claims, they won't take people under 50 claims, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason why is they don't want to, and they're just too costly, and they don't usually pay out enough money. So that's the reality. But even in there, a lot of those claims still get denied because the SSA is really closing their doors on how many they want to actually approve. Cool. All right. So and the other thing just to understand with that is, if an attorney wants to increase the amount of money they make, they have to take more of the tougher claims. That's just how it goes. Because if they take, let's say, another 20% of tough claims and they win 10% or they win, half of those, then they've just made significantly more money. So some of the attorneys who basically have a lower percent passage rate might be an amazing attorney. They're just taking more tough claims to get more money. Cool. Next one. Another trick big box law firms are telling their staff to tell people is that when they speak with people at parties or at neighbor meetings, that they should tell them that they can always upgrade their law firm. This is kind of a new thing that they've been trying to spread around. I had a couple claimants tell me about how one of the largest law firms in America had suggested that they upgrade. I asked them to call the big box law firm back, right? Because that's part of it, and get the attorney on the phone to basically tell them about this upgrade and how they were an upgrade specifically for them. Not only could they not, like when they called the law firm to get the attorney on the phone, not only would the firm not get the attorney on the phone, but they were told that the attorney would not be able to discuss the phrasing of upgrading. So I thought that was very interesting. So hopefully that tactic will kind of die down as time goes on about this upgrading to this big firm, blah 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 blah. But remember, these big law firms, they've got to make a lot of money to pay for all of those big fancy buildings and big fancy cars and big fancy concerts that they put on and all those community interactions that they do where they're taking photos with the police. They got to pay for all that stuff. So just remember, they got to find ways to constantly advertise to get you to bite onto them. Okay. Next thing is this. Okay, I'll explain one last because my voice is starting to go with this. All right. Have you ever wondered why it seems like when they have a commercial that there's like on TV an advertisement and the commercial section is this long? So let's say it's a 5-minute section. It's longer. Let's say it's a 7-minute section, and you've got law firm advertising in that one section. You're always thinking like, why the hell would all these law firms just advertise in that same section? Like, this is weird. Why would they do that? That's because usually one law firm owns all of those law firms, and they just bought that commercial slot to go ahead and play those commercials over and over and over again. So if you're ever wondering why you see all these law firms that are basically in that one spot, they're usually owned by one law firm that's also advertising in that slot. Okay. Now there's another thing I want to explain. This is kind of an uncomfortable thing to talk about. I hope you think about it. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I have to be careful with it. Have you ever wondered why the big box firms donate so much money to the sheriffs and the police? If you look up their owners, the owners of the law firms, and when they were arrested, DUIs are usually the main culprits, right? Driving under the influence. You'll notice everyone smiles in the photos after that, right? When they take photos with the police and photos with the sheriffs and the donations and all this stuff. You've always got law enforcement and lawyers shaking hands, together, shoulder and shoulder together. I can't go too much more into that, but I think that there is something you should start to think about as basically an advertising technique to show their connection to the community. Number 10, final one here. The final thing I can't really touch on too much is that when I say law firms, some of them own other law firms. It's much more than you realize it is. So we talked about basically how one might buy out the entire commercial section for this particular show, law firm advertisements. What I'm not going into is basically market manipulation and how like a law firm will go ahead and they're the Christian law firm, and then they'll buy another Jewish law firm, and they'll buy another Muslim law firm, and they'll buy another sheriff's law firm and a police law firm, and they'll start to seed these other law firms and try to build them so that every time you go to basically use a law firm, you're not just using the potential main person, but you're also looking at all the competitors that are actually owned by the same law firm. I can't go too much into that because bottom line is that I can get a little bit into too much trouble with that. But the bottom line is it's one of those gigs where you just have to think about it. Think about what's going on. Did one of these lawyers previously work for the other law firm? Did they have a connection where all of a sudden they had a massive amount of money to go ahead and start their own law firm in that particular, pro police, MD, JD, medical doctor, and lawyer, one of those sorts of gigs, legally pink. There's always some sort of gimmick. And they just basically collect all the gimmicks, and then you've got to pick one of them to hire. So no matter what, you're hiring from that firm because they own them. All right, let's see if there's any questions here real quick. I'm not seeing any other questions here. Fur Kids Unite, 3 Dogs Night Disability. Okay, very cool, very cool. I'm actually going to go ahead and go to USPS. I have to give the doggies a treat. They've been really good tonight. And then basically I'm going to hit a Waffle House because I haven't had a Waffle House. They don't really have them as much up north. So I will catch you guys a little bit later. And then in the not too distant future, I will have a video where I pick up the guitar and I play it for the first time in 15 years. My finger healed up. I did a dumb thing. I was, windows scraping. They give like this little scraper with a little razor blade in it where you can scrape the windows, the rental house next door. And because I'm doing all this stuff myself for the most part, other than like I hire a guy for a day, I hire a guy for a day kind of stuff. And bottom line was, it wasn't scraping the stuff off the window anymore. I was like, why isn't this working? It was super late. It was like 2 a.m. I went like, why isn't this working? And then I sliced my finger. You can still see it on the finger. But the point is, I couldn't do the guitar thing as a result of that. Now it's healed up. So I'm going to do it. I'm really nervous. I'm going to suck, but you'll get to see it. So I'll catch you guys a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night. Get some cream of wheat. Indeed, indeed. Let's see. Very cool. I will catch you guys a little bit later. You have a wonderful night, and we will go from there. All right. Please remember to like, subscribe, and if you can, leave a review. And always, always, always do well. Be safe, and please take care of yourself. All right. Bye bye, guys. Bye bye.